We have a lot going on this week. We're going to talk about the 40-year mortgage with FHA. We're going to talk about the California mansion tax. We're going to talk about you now paying higher interest if you have good credit as a home buyer. And we're going to talk about the California Dream for All program and my opinions on them. So we are going to start with what I found yesterday. Home buyers with good credit scores are now going to pay more to subsidize more risky borrowers. The actual headline that's been going around is Biden to hike payments for good credit home buyers to subsidize high-risk mortgages. So what this means, if you have a good credit score of 680 or higher, for a $400,000 loan, you'll now pay an additional $40 per month. And home buyers who make down payments of 15 to 20% will get hit with the largest fees. This is a terrible policy in my perspective. The reason why you always want to incentivize good behavior, the reason why you create incentives is because more people head in directions where you're offering them incentive. We talk about the tax code this way. If you just listen to what the government wants you to do and place your dollars in those areas that stimulate the economy, you get to keep more of your money. Well, right now, by incentivizing those who have made poor financial decisions, they're in bad debt, or they're struggling to pay back their debt, you will now pay a lower fee or have an incentive versus those who buy things they can afford, say no to a lot, are responsible with their debt, and have created good credit. You will now be dinged for that. So the incentive is now incentivizing bad behavior and not good. What that's going to do is drive more people towards bad behavior. Next thing to cover is the new California mansion tax. And this was passed in LA City overwhelmingly. What it means, if you sell a home or a residential between $5 and $10 million, you're going to now have an additional 4% tax on that sale. For anything you sell over $10 million, there's going to be an additional 5.5% tax. And this starts April 1st, so we're in effect here. The one thing to really consider, if you're just thinking about mansions, right? You're selling these mansions in LA, all these rich people, tax them. I understand that's the energy. But this also goes into commercial real estate for multifamily apartments. This is now at play. So the thing you have to ask yourself is, by making the cost of doing business in California more expensive, does that drive more investors into the state or less? In my perspective, that's going to create less investors wanting to come into California. What does that mean? Well, as a real estate investor who owns real estate in California and who owns a property in LA City, we're actually not that concerned by this, which sounds counterproductive to everything I just said. The reason why we don't is in an area that's already very difficult to build real estate. It's incredibly hard to do it in California, and it takes a long time. It's put California, or it's been one of the driving factors that's led to this supply-demand deficiency and what's driven prices up so significantly. Well, if you're a current investor in California, or you're a developer with a long play or long time horizon, all this does is keeps competition out. So what does that mean? It means it makes it harder for supply to hit that demand, which adds more value beyond what I think the assets are actually worth. So I think all this does is actually drive prices up further. Next topic is the 40-year mortgage from FHA. Now, I was watching something yesterday, Graham Stephan. I was watching him, and he's going over a FHA loan for 40 years. Before I even watched his video, I went, oh my gosh, I want this, right? I hit my broker up, mortgage broker's like, hey, what's up with the 40-year FHA? Is this available, right? Before he responds, I watch the rest of Graham's video, and Graham's basically like, this is a bad idea to do. Now, for context, the FHA loan is not available for everyone. Basically what this is for people who have FHA loans who lose their job or are in financial distress and are at risk of foreclosing. What FHA is doing is basically saying, let's not foreclose, let's extend your loan and put yourself in a position where you can continue being in your house and continue lending from us. I think it's just easier for them than going through the foreclosure process. What I think, and Graham mentioned this as well, I think it's only a matter of time before a 40-year mortgage is actually available to all of us. Now, Graham thinks it's a stupid move. I love the idea. I would go after a 40-year loan all day long. The reason why I don't ever want to own a home in cash. I know for a lot of people, we have this discussion all the time. The ultimate goal is to buy a home, pay off all your debt, and own that thing free and clear. For me, I want to be levered forever. I want debt on assets the entire time I hold them. And really, if you think about the natural evolution of us as home buyers, it's very rare for somebody to buy a house, live in it for 30 years, and own it outright. Or even run the FIRE movement where you're adding payments, you're trying to get that loan paid off early. Most people buy a house, put a 30-year loan on it, interest rates go down, they refi. When they sell, they move into a bigger house and then put more debt on it. Usually the majority of us are in debt on our home forever. So I like the idea of long-term debt there. Puts yourself in a position where if you're gonna live in it for a year and move it over to an investment property, you're bringing your monthly payment down. It means that project has a higher ability to cash flow in states like California where it's difficult to do so. But again, this program isn't available yet. I think it's going to be eventually. Last topic, and I think this is an interesting one. The California Dream for All program. Now this is a program, they funded $300 million for this program, and it was to help first-time buyers who didn't have money to put down on a house. So the program is a shared appreciation loan of up to 20% of the cost of home. So if you're buying a house for $500,000, you'd receive 20% or $100,000 from this program to cover your down payment and your closing costs. So you're all in at basically zero. Once the home buyer sells the property in a later date, you're required to pay the 20% assistance back plus 20% of the home's appreciation. This $300 million basically got gobbled up in 11 days. It was over before it really even started. And so right now you're hearing a lot of people in the real estate industry saying, let's get more dollars in this thing. This is great. My opinion on this one, I think like anything, there's pros and cons to it. What I like about this, at least from the government lens, let's say I'm on the government side. What I like about it, the government is now just not giving free money away. They're actually making investments. That part I like. The government is participating in profit shares. They have like a carried interest. So I like that side of what the government's doing. I also like for people who are, real estate is too expensive in California, right? So I like the idea of creating programs that help people get in. But here's the challenge to it, or the con, and where we ultimately need to find a balance. If you are helping people get into buying homes that they can't afford, right? You don't have the money for a down payment. You are now increasing the buyer pool, right? So you're now creating more buyers and you're not increasing supply. We already talked about it. Creating supply in California is brutal. So if you're increasing the demand, not changing the supply, the cost of homes are only gonna go up. It's gonna increasingly go up. And so the question becomes, at what point is this no longer capitalism? Like, at what rate do we have too much government assistance and we're watching everything never correct and prices just always going up? At some point, it's got to break. So I like it on some regards. I'm concerned about it on others. I think where this all ends, and it's an interesting conversation, and I'm really hoping that everyone leaves comments on this video, because in every video I post, there's somebody that says this. Whenever we talk about real estate or entrepreneurship or stuff like this, the housing market, we will always see comments around late stage capitalism, or this idea that capitalism is broken and we're at the final stages. This is just an example of it being broken. What I would really recommend for everyone who has that view, one, be specific. If we have a problem, let's figure out what solutions are for that problem. Because what you see with late stage capitalism is it's used as a blanket statement to throw out on any disparity or anything in which capitalism does something wrong or has a problem at hand. So I think it's better that we talk about solutions of problems than just it's all broken. The other thing, and this would be my critique on it and my concern, late stage capitalism was coined from, it wasn't from Marx, but it was from Marx believers, right? And in my perspective, capitalism is incredibly hard to break. The way you break capitalism is more based on the people losing faith in the system. We have to break it ourselves. And when you say something long enough, in late stage capitalism, they've been talking about this forever, you get to a point where people start believing it. And then you run this risk of a self-fulfilling prophecy. What I don't like is just saying, everything's broken, this is late stage capitalism, so we need to usher in socialism. That's what I think the challenge is. So I'd encourage everybody to talk about something that's an issue, like what we're talking about right now. This is not free market capitalism. This is government assistance that's driving prices up. We watched a lot of this happen in the discussion with the bank. Instead of letting banks fail or banks becoming too big, the government stops it from happening. And what you're seeing is a natural correction that never happens. And then we get stuck in this position where things are just outpriced. So let me know your thoughts on this. Please participate in the conversation. I want to leave it learning more. And I think us as a community, if we're doing so, we're all becoming smarter because of it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next week.